So I have to heat it. I just use my torch and heat it. The other day I had to drive the road. I had picked up Benson. And wonder if drive up to his house to get his torch because I didn't have that in my bag yet. For the winter.
Okay, it's muted. So then do we go back to the minimum?
Well, that's a delay.
Yeah.
That was weird. It was.
I think it is a delay. That's why when we do have the wrong audio on, it's so
That's the.
echoey.
It was weird to watch myself bend over and get something out of my bag.
Because you hadn't done it yet?
No, because I did it,
Oh.
and then I sat back up and looked at it, and I
Just
was,
kidding. It would have been funny if it was delayed the other way.
yeah. That would,
Quite a mirror,
That would be scary.
then we'd have to check my bag to make sure all that was there.
huh? So we're good?
Yes, I
Very good.
believe we are. Okay,
Here we go, city council work session of November 20th, 2024 at 6 PM to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Allison,
Here?
Tom Baylor,
Here.
Kathy Sherman,
Here.
Casey Kinsman,
Here.
Wendy Rainey,
Here.
Dave Zastro,
Here.
Kristen Smith,
Here.
and Ken Jones is absent. That's the quorum of council.
Okay, thank you. Our work session topic tonight, first on the list is the city manager's memo. Sam?
Okay. Okay. So generally, I'm gonna just go over my memo a little bit. I explained the general fund and enterprise funds and the utilities in the memo. I don't know if anyone has any questions on those, or if I can make that a little more clear, but I think generally utilities are being paid. The utilities are being shown in the revenue of the utilities companies and in the expenditures. So I said utility companies, I'm sorry, enterprise funds. And so in essence, the enterprise funds are absorbing the in-kind contributions of water sewer revenues.
Is it the same?
And we're not charging it to the school or the chamber. We're,
Correct.
so that's something I think we should look at in the future. I don't wanna mess with this budget, but I think when we do the school's budget in the spring, we should consider having all in kind in their in kind, not just the non-utility stuff. Anyway, just so you're clear that we're not, none of that in kind to the chamber or the school is utilities.
The resolution for the school contribution does not include the in-kind utility contribution. In that 151,000, correct?
Yes. So, I guess we heard a little bit at the last meeting, maybe some consideration of wanting general fund to pay for the utilities. That would create a deficit of $53,000 in the existing budget. Does anybody have any questions on the in-kind?
Guess I just have a comment, I guess, on the, well, the in-kind we should be charging off of the school. I lost where was that? Go ahead.
Okay. No, I don't see anybody's hands up. Oh, I'll move on. So we did, incorporate the increases in the round and abouts that we went about at the last budget meeting to the best of our abilities. I think we have it covered. The fish tax, still at $1 million, sales tax, we put to 4.765, year-to-date is 4.1. We did decrease that by 10,000 from last work session. We left the online tax as was. Public accommodations, we went up by 5 as we are very close to being over that at this point. Map tax, which is a sin tax, we increased by 5. And property tax, still the same at 3.12. Same for the fuel oil at 120. And then the in-kind expenditures were offset at 181 in the 824, which is interdepartmental.
I remember what I was gonna say now about
Okay.
the in-kind stuff, we as, personally, and again, I don't get to decide yet, but, I think we're better, and I think I said it at the last meeting, we're better off having the utilities pay it because everybody, 100% of the taxpayers pay, or the utility payers pay for the utilities, where if we put it in a general fund and it's just then only 50% or 53% or whatever it is pays for it. So I think, personally think we're better off leaving it like it is, but charging it to the, putting it in the in-kind for the school and the chamber, so.
And I just wanna reiterate, because I've seen some stuff out on social media and other places where the city cuts have not been represented very well, and I just wanna reiterate that at this time, we are probably over 270,000 plus in cuts. We cut before we brought the budget here, we cut after the budget came the first time. We didn't track some of these. I don't wanna call them small because they're all important, but we tracked the large ones that made an impact. So we are not filling 3 positions, the pool ops leader, the temp fire, and a part-time IT for a total of 217,948. We also have decreased the street maintenance budget by 10,000. And we decreased the finance director that was put in to 3/4 of the time. So some of the other cuts that have been done include the ski hill, which was reduced by 20, the chamber reduced by 40, the school by 90, which totals 150. I also want to give a call out to the hospital, who at the very beginning of this discussion, way back in September, reduced their ask from 300,000 to 200,000, having 100,000 right off the top. So just to reiterate, the White Shed and Second Street grant matches are not in the budget. We have talked about those being paid through the permanent fund. There is an ordinance in this meeting for that, which means at the December 4th meeting, if we get there with a balanced budget, the second read will be simultaneous with the budget. The remaining matches, which are fire, are in the grant, or in the budget, existing budget. We also have left in the pool fire alarm, panel move, the railroad road lane land costs. And then the HVAC, as my memo says for the second time in a row, has been upgraded, or an upgrade for $25,000. The budget presented is balanced. Anything changes, we have to figure out what we're doing. Yep, we'll have to figure it out. I feel like the revenue are in a pretty solid place. I'm a little unsure about doing any revenue raises. I feel like we kind of push that unless you want to raise property tax. And I guess, I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Okay, second item is the 2025 budget as presented here, so any comments, questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, go ahead first.
Whoever was first there.
All right, this is Councilmember Kinsman. I'm just looking at the online tax, and it says we have 3 months left. Is that collected monthly? I thought that was collected quarterly. Just a point of clarification. If it is quarterly, then I think we've collected everything for the year then.
It is collected monthly.
Okay.
We actually did just receive one yesterday, and then we'll have one more that we'll receive this year.
But that is not posted here yet.
Correct.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And then I know on here we're showing as far as cuts go that we've cut 20,000 from the ski hill, but we also added 15,000 back in for insurance. Is that so? Really, it's a net cut of 5,000. Am I looking at that correctly, or am I?
Because the ski hill had asked for $25,000 in their maintenance fund, that's down to 10, and we did not fund the inspection because it hasn't been reimbursed for multiple years.
Okay.
It's 15 for the maintenance and 5.
Oh, 15 for me, but that was 25, okay.
Okay, and then my only other, thank you for clarifying that. My only other point of clarification is the part-time IT. Is that going to drive an additional cost in our contracted IT services by cutting that?
Gonna drive an additional cost in your city manager.
And Sam pulling her hair out.
No, it will not.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's annotated if it does. That's all. Thank you, Sam. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, it's Baylor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first I want to give a shout out to the hospital. I think Mayor and others remember allocating 3 and 4 times that amount at different years. So it sure shows what a good administrator can do, and staff buy-in, and she's really done a great job with that hospital, and thanks out to the community too for utilizing the hospital. That's what makes it go. So I don't know if people realize how much money that hospital's costing us for years, and it's finally gotten straightened around. So really appreciate that. I would have preferred to stay with the initial cuts when the city manager balanced the budget and came back. You guys all agreed to raise revenue here and there, just wishing and hoping, I guess. And then you decrease some of the cuts. I think we should have stayed where we're at. It'd be great if we come in with over budget, and we could put a little money back into the bank, which we don't have. We've used it all up. We're burning through our permanent fund. So I'm glad we got it down to where I think everybody's going to agree with this, but I don't agree with it. I think we should have stayed where we were at. It's interesting. We got some figures. Since 2014, property values have gone up 62%. That's just your property values that we collect that property tax, 62%. And we've spent it all, and we've spent all our sales tax, and we've gotten an increase in sales tax just by virtue of the Amazon and other out of town or out of state vendors actually charging, collecting tax. So that's been a big increase. We didn't get that before. We've raised the sales tax by 1%. We put 3 cents on a gallon for wharfage, and now we're putting another 3 cents on, and we're spending it all. The last couple of years, we balanced the budget with COVID money. I said this 3 years ago. I said, we need to start making some cuts. The manager at that time said, don't worry about it. We'll balance it with this COVID money and America First money, whatever that helicopter money the federal government was dropping in. I said, well, what are you going to do 3 years from now? And that's now. What are you going to do 3 years from now when that runs out? Well, we'll figure it out then. Well, the way we're figuring it out is raising taxes. So this is my glass go around. I would really encourage you guys to take a better look at these things. We need to cut back. We can't support everything, So that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, a point to that. I do want to just call out, since Mr. Baylor commented on, I was actually in agreement with the last budget as well, leaving the cuts as they were. So I just want that to be out there as well.
Anybody else have any comments on
Just one more comment, if I may, is last time, I think there were some people in the audience. I don't know if they got an opportunity to speak, but I don't know who's there now, but, if council agrees, if we could fit in some public comment, I think that might be helpful.
it? Yeah, I think the chambers here at least, I don't know who all they're representing, but we can give them an opportunity here when after council gets a chance. Council member Sherman? Comments?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can agree to move this budget forward. I understand the comments by Councilman Baylor and Councilman Kinsman. And I do think we have begun to make the cuts, and they're not as drastic as their last time. But I kind of think it's a little bit of a reality check, and I think this one can move forward. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't need to belabor it. I concur with Councilmember Sherman. I mean, I hear what others are saying, and I realize we are, what's the word? We're anticipating revenues that we don't know will come. But I think we have done a lot of good work in going over this and trying to protect some of the investment in our infrastructure. So I support the budget that we have here before us.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Zastro.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I concur with what has been said so far. I'd like to give a shout out to staff and to the city manager in identifying that there have been tremendous cuts that have been identified over the last couple of budgets. And I just want to point that out that I think all departments have taken a decrease from the 24 budget. So I want to point that out, that work has been done. And also in our directions over the last several budget workshops that we've provided back to staff and their ability to work it back in and provide us a balanced budget. I do appreciate all that. I also would like to say, one of the things we went back and forth on was the Chamber of Commerce and the cuts that we're doing there. I do recognize that they're getting a lot in-kind services, and I'm sure that's really appreciated. And, initially we were looking at dropping down the funding to $50,000 from the past year's budget of, I think it was 110. And we were able to bring that back up to 70. I wish it didn't have to be that much, but with everything that we are cutting and how we have been struggling to find other revenues, I don't know what else we could do at this point. So I'm looking at this as being pretty much our final product and would feel comfortable moving it forward.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Rainey.
Yeah, there's some hard decisions. It's a small town. We have a lot of folks that work really hard in all these departments and all these entities. And I wish we could support them all, but I support the budget that's in front of us, and I appreciate the work that went into it. There's some hard decisions made.
Okay, thank you. The only comment I have, you've heard it from me before, but I think we're being pretty optimistic on our revenues. And I know the staff has those same concerns a little bit, at least. And certainly if this budget passes, council needs at least quarterly reports so we can keep up on it, because I don't want to end up in September and being 10% off on our revenues and looking for $1 million somewhere at that point in time. So we need to track it pretty close. So is there anybody on council wants to go again, or you want to hear from some of the public? We got plenty of time here.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
And this Councilmember Kinsman, I know this year if I'm looking at my notes right, we're 30 to 35% up in, I believe it's insurance or personnel costs, is that correct? I think most of it was to our insurance of that increase. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think that's about right?
35% increase insurance,
Okay.
just in insurance,
Just the health insurance.
just the health insurance, all the other insurance went up to liability.
Did that go up about the same percent or?
No, not that drastic.
Do we have any ideas? Have we heard? Are we shopping around to know what we're looking at for the next year? Are we looking at another increase of 30% or? I understand it's a kind of a crystal ball question. I'm just wondering what we're doing to stay on in front of it or on top of it.
Well, for next year, we will be shopping. I think the hard thing is that we have we have some high, what am I trying, what's it called?
Part of it is
Claims.
claims history.
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
word I
Our
was looking for.
rating isn't great.
And they will let us re-rate in as early as April, but we don't know what that will look like.
Sure.
Yeah, but we are definitely, we have already talked to our broker that we want to be shopping early. But those claims follow you wherever you go. And for instance, we shopped this year and the only other company that responded was at 38%.
Okay. Thank you. Again, that's just, I know, looking to some of our risk for next year. So thank you. And yeah, thanks for all your work on this budget. So
Sure, thank you, Cheryl.
Oh, I just wanted to add to that we did look at joining the AML Health Consortium, and we cannot do that at this time. But we can look into it further and see what we need to do to be able to be eligible for that. Primera covers them as well, so there's something about going from one Primera plan to another. But we are exploring any and all options.
Yeah, staff is working on it. They understand the price is pretty high too, so. Anyway, anybody else in council? Go again, or can I let some of the public speak? You wanna come up, state what organization you're representing? I'm assuming it's representing an organization, and make some comments if you'd like.
Just delete.
Huh?
I know, defer.
You don't have to, but give you the opportunity. It is a workshop, so.
Hello, everyone. It's Kathy Redfeld from Cordova Chamber. I appreciate the opportunity to give a comment during the work session. I wasn't anticipating this, but I appreciate it. I just want to express our appreciation for the contributions that the city is able to give the chamber. And as you talk about these difficulties that our community is facing with revenue sources and with expenses, I know that the changes in funding are not a result of a reflection of our work. I know it's not a reflection of our work that is causing these cuts, and I am going to continue to work as hard as I can, and we're going to continue to work as hard as we can to try to bring those revenue numbers to those levels. I think that a lot of the work that the chamber does affects those revenue numbers that you're looking at. And it's going to be difficult for us to reach those goals with a cut in funding like this, but we're going to keep trying. We're going to do the best we can. And I would just like to, first of all, let you know that the in-kind contributions are very valuable to us, and they do really help us do the work that we do. And the fact that we can retain those this year is really going to help us retain some stability as we move forward with big cuts like this. And I also want to say that for those of you that are involved, either on a personal level as a volunteer, on a committee, or with an event, or as a donor, or through your business, if there's a way for you to contribute to the Chamber's efforts, we really appreciate it. Because we're going to be needing that more than ever moving forward. And things like that are really gonna help us to get to help the city get to those revenue goals. And I think as we go into continually unknown territory, the work that we do with our partners and collaborators is gonna be exceedingly more important. So, understand that cuts need to be made, grateful for the amount that can be contributed. If there's an opportunity later in the year to reassess if, rates can come down to open up additional funding, the chamber to receive additional funding in the future, later in the year, that would be really helpful. So that we can try to maintain this trajectory to try to help you reach those revenue goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to comment on anything on the budget?
Hi, good evening, Mark Freifel, Shoreside Petroleum, and I'm actually here on behalf of Shoreside Petroleum today. As Kathy talked about revenue streams and revenue sources, it seems that fuel is a topic of regular revenue generation for the city. Some of the things that I would like council to think about when we discuss additional wharfages and taxes on fuel is what makes us less competitive. So maybe you guys know, maybe you don't know, but currently on a gallon of diesel fuel, the total taxes are 69 cents a gallon currently today. A gallon of unleaded has 63 cents a gallon taxes on it. That's federal, state. Per gallon, the city of Cordova collects 35 cents per gallon on every gallon of diesel and 35 cents on every gallon of unleaded when you round it up. So 3 more cents to that, that's 38 cents a gallon. 38 cents a gallon doesn't sound like a lot, but we're noticing that the processors have decided to seek other places to buy fuel. So they're currently, one processor in general is currently sending their fleet to Valdez to buy fuel. Well, I know we can't necessarily compete with Valdez's revenue stream. We have to compete with them daily on the amount of stuff that we bring into Cordova and compete with them on making sure that we get the money instead of Valdez does. So if you're saving 35 cents a gallon for every gallon of fuel, 38 cents, and that ship is going to Valdez or the whole fleet, the same fleet's going to Valdez to buy fuel because they got a better rate. It's pretty easy to compete with 35 cents, right? I mean, they're 35 cents a gallon off, you're gonna drive to the other side of town to get fuel too. So it makes us less competitive, and it's easy to tax, it's easy to add additional wharfages to, but it makes the community less desirable to do business here. So it's not just boats, contractors. I noticed that the Shepherd Point projects bring a lot of fuel in from Whittier. Well, we get to sell Whittier fuel, but we don't get to collect taxes for the city of Cordova. So again, it's a big deal. It's something that we have to watch, and you can't just keep taxing fuel because it's easy. So we gotta look at other ways. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Anybody else? Okay, any comments on the enterprise funds, council? We good with those? ODF wasn't in this packet, but I'm assuming that was the same as last week. It's not even on your memos.
Yeah,
We only included the ones that were
They just
affected
changed,
or
okay.
could have been affected by,
Okay.
by the in-gun,
right.
so an ODI is not one of
Okay,
those.
right, yeah. Okay, any comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's, listening to the chamber's comments, which I appreciate, and their goal is to increase revenues. And I think we're all talking about the increased revenues, saying, what can we do? But the problem is council needs to focus on how can we decrease spending? Not increase revenues, but decrease spending so we can save with revenue we have coming in now. We gotta, I keep saying this, we gotta quit spending every dime that comes in. Let's decrease our spending. And if we get an increase of revenue, great. Let's set it aside because we're gonna have a major sewer and water project to do at some point. We're gonna have a high school to total remodel or rebuild at some point. We got some big expenses coming and we are not prepared for. So that's my final comment on this budget.
We got 1.5 million for Second Street next year.
Yeah, and that's, and if remember the gentleman that's taking care of our permanent fund money said, if you'll just have some discipline and let me have these funds for 10 to 12 years, we can build this up to where you can take X amount of dollars every year to help balance your budget and to do projects. He's done it in other communities, but we're not going to be able to do that because we just keep siphoning it off. And it's sad. We have no other way of rebuilding that money up. And once it's gone, it's gone. And it the lower you get, the quicker, the easier it is to deplete. You know, it's just the way it works. Thanks.
Yeah, anybody else? We're done with our workshop? Staff, you're good?
I'm happy.
Everybody good? All right, we'll adjourn the workshop. We do have a public hearing and it's 6:45. On something. Incentives and the permanent fund for the road projects.
Kevin, what can I do on this? Just.
You did it.
I didn't do anything. I'm trying to, was it mute for you to? Oh, it's already muted.
What have you done?
Yeah, I just minimized the Zoom. I was just trying to, you can't pause the Forgot to tell you that today.
online directory, but. I don't know when I went there.
Okay, we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll call the city council public hearing on November 20th, 2024 at 6:45 PM. Roll call, please.
Mayor Allison,
Here?
Tom Baylor. You turn our mute off.
Yeah.
Kathy Sherman,
Here,
Casey Kinsman. Wendy Rainey,
Here.
Here,
was that Casey?
Casey.
Okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't. Dave Zastro. His computer died, he's trying to get back up and running, he's there. Okay.
Tom?
Tom Baylor,
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I couldn't find the mute.
that's okay. Kristen Smith
I'm here.
and Ken Jones. Oh, okay, that's a quorum.
Okay, our public hearing tonight is on two ordinances, ordinance 1223, which is our economic development property tax exemptions plan, and ordinance 1225, which is transferring $289,898 from the permanent fund to our matches for the Second Street and Whiteshed Road projects. Anybody have any comments on either of those two ordinances? Welcome to have at. Not seeing anybody even wiggling to come up here, so we'll recess until 6:55 and start again then. In case anybody comes in and wants to talk about those other things. Being pretty generous on those exemption years. But 5, 8, 10, 10, 12.
Forgot what I'm doing.
15 years, a long time.
I lived it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we come back from recess on the public hearing, ordinance 1223, and ordinance to establish economic development property tax exemptions, and ordinance 1225, transferring money from the permanent fund for the two road projects we have coming up. Anybody want to comment on either of those? Last chance. Okay, hearing none, then we will adjourn the public hearing. And at 7, about 5 minutes, we'll start the regular meeting. I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't see his back.
I mean, I didn't disagree with you.
Yeah, he's always welcome to make it. But we're not looking at this. So that'll be on the next agenda. Fee schedule and the budget.
Yeah, the fee schedule already went through. I mean, you guys
There's
okay
nothing.
with the fee schedule, so.
Well, but he can amend it when it's in the resolution before the body.
In December, at the
December
December 4th meeting.
Yeah, at the meeting on the 4th. Not
Tell
before
her
that.
about the next exempt starts for.
I took it out.
Okay. We had in the last version, we had,
That
we
was,
still had you could have a tax exempt card for construction.
Right.
We still on there, we didn't change anything.
I didn't move it. Yeah.
Okay, we'll call the regular city council meeting of November 20th, 2024 at 7 PM to order. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Your roll call, please.
Mayor Allison,
Here.
Tom Baylor,
Here.
Kathy Sherman,
Here,
Casey Kinsman,
Here.
Wendy Rainey. Actually here. Dave Zastro,
Here.
Kristen Smith,
Here,
Ken Jones.
Here.
That is all of council.
Okay, thank you all for calling in. It's kind of lonely at the table here tonight. Any objection to approving the regular agenda as presented? Hearing none, then the agenda will be approved. Disclosure of conflicts of interest, ex parte communications. Hearing none, communications by and petitions of visitors. We have guest speaker tonight, Dave Reggiani from the Sheridan Alpine Association. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Take me a second to get set up here. Not there yet.
Without me having to approve it or.
So I'm there.
Okay.
And I'm gonna mute you.
Uh-oh, yes, please.
Okay, I'm muted on the computer,
But we're
but
still
it's
here.
probably coming through my,
It's coming.
my speaker too.
Yeah, can you turn both off?
Sure. How about now?
Let's hope.
Perfect.
And do you have to ask to share, or do I have to do something with the sharing screen?
Let's see.
On the top, it should, you'll see if you can share it, Dave. If you can take the screen.
Send the request.
You go.
Exactly, and no, I'm not available to do that to you.
What? They said you would.
I'm busy. I'm muted, turn off my volume.
Maybe ask if they can hear you.
Yes, can everybody hear me that's on the Zoom?
Yep, we can hear it.
Thanks, Dave, appreciate it. All right, well, I'm happy to be here and thank you very much for the invite. So that we can present our 23-24 season summary from last year. And I'm also going to include a preseason plannings summary, or kind of a heads up on what's coming up and for the next season. So I'm gonna jump right into it, and I'm hoping there'll be some questions maybe at the end. I'll try not to take too long. So the first slide is our 23-24 season summary, and I know a lot of you have seen the photo that's on the slide and before, and if you haven't, it's a really cool photo, and I like it a lot because it shows the hill in its best. It's very popular. This one was from a couple years ago, and you can see the parking lot and the congestion that exists. And, just this last week, we moved that big pile. It's my mouse here on the screen, but anyway, the big pile in between the lower parking lot and the upper parking lot has been removed, and we're trying to expand the parking lot a little bit so that we can reduce the congestion. So last season, our rope tow opened on December 8th. We had 54 operational days. The lift opened on December 22. We had 33 operational days. The last open day was on April 5th. We had approximately 4 months of service. Our Sheridan Alpine Association membership continues to grow. Last year, we had 461 members, of which we had 403 season pass holders. And throughout the slideshow, you'll see lots of photos. I like to show everybody what's going on up there. Kind of pictures worth 1,000 words, literally. And Penny Johnson does a great job of taking photos, and she was kind enough to share and let me share them with you. So you might remember I just said we had the first chairlift day on December 22. 2 days later, we had that really big windstorm on Christmas Eve. And it was so strong that it actually blew over the little shack at the rope tow, pulled out a bunch of wires and controls. And we derailed, the windstorm derailed the cable from 22 sheaves on 5 different towers. This is where pictures don't really explain everything what was going on. And Dave Branshaw, our hatchery, not hatchery manager, I've got hatchery on the brain, but our mountain manager gave a good synopsis. And so I thought I'd read that to you because it is pretty remarkable. And you can see where I'm asking for a special thank you at the bottom of this slide for Dave Branshaw and Jason and Gunnar Davis and Bob Jr. Bernard for their quick response and saving Christmas. Dave Bradshaw actually said it was a Christmas miracle, and I'll explain why. So this is an email from Dave to me, and he says, hello, of course. On the morning of Christmas Eve, I arrived on the hill to do a daily line check after a large wind event. I discovered the rope tow damage in addition to a large derail of the line. We had 22 sheaves and 5 towers offline. I figured a week to recover. I proceeded to line up equipment and move forward with repairs to the rope tow. I notified crew, not expecting any help due to the holidays. Throughout the day, I worked on the rope tow, repairing fences, resetting the control building in place, and reconnecting power and controls. By nightfall, the tower was tested and operational. I returned home and regrouped for the Christmas Day operation of the rope tow. Christmas Day began with the Bunny Hill cross country and rental room pack. I had rental and tow running by noon, and to my surprise, Jason and Bob, along with their boys, Gunnar and Bob Jr., arrived ready to work on the lift. This is Christmas morning. We assembled the necessary gear and equipment and sent them on their way up the hill. They proceeded to lift and align the haul rope back into place. The haul rope, you'll remember, that's the cable that basically the chairs are attached to and runs up. All repairs and testings were completed by dark. During the repair, Bunny Hill operations continued without interruption. A large Christmas Day turnout on the Bunny Hill that day was enjoyed by all. The following ski day went off without incident. A large turnout to the skiing public was enjoyed by all. When I look back on these events, I was amazed by what we pulled off. It was our Christmas miracle. And so I hope you would join me in thanking Dave Branshaw, who is here, and Bob Bernard, who's in the audience too, for doing a wonderful job and going the extra step in committing some risky behavior on the chairlift tower to get that tower back on. So I thank them, and I hope you guys will thank them too. Okay, after that, we had 32 hours of snowmaking for the Bunny Hill kids. We had 105 hours logged for trail grooming, including the cross-country trail. And our highlight for the association was it was our 4th year of investment into our rental equipment. And so far, we've invested $94,000 over the past 5 years. These are some fun kids that are enjoying a really nice day up there. Here are some of the members from this volunteer ski patrol. Jim Fritsch is our ski patrol representative, which basically is the leader of the ski patrol and all the volunteers. He and several other ski patrol went to Mount Eccles and had another school assembly highlighting chairlift safety. We got a lot of feedback from mothers that their kids were nervous up on the chairlift, and so Jim reacted quickly, and Sherman as well, and they went and gave a good assembly, well received, and they'll be doing another one this year, so I think it's going to turn into a nice annual event. The association also sponsored several guest ski patrollers from other ski areas. This turned out to be a really great staff development for our ski patrol team. Some of our ski patrol just ski Mount Eac and don't have a chance to go and ski in other locations. And so bringing others that have skied somewhere else under some different conditions, ski patrol conditions, it was nice to kind of have that interface and share that knowledge and experience. So I've highlighted everybody's names there that you'll see some familiar names. So on the left, they're doing their sled practice. And then it just looks like they're having a good photo op on the right-hand side. Chairlift maintenance highlights. It was a little bit higher than normal repair and maintenance needs this last year. They rebuilt or replaced 23 sheaves on 4 towers. They greased the entire lift 6 times, and we prepped and painted A and B tower. And we letter those towers from the bottom up. So A tower is the one right next to the base station, and then B tower is the very next one up. That's a short little guy. So as we go up the hill with our painting projects, it's going to get more difficult because some of those towers are pretty tall and they're hard to get to. So again, a nice, beautiful day on the left-hand side. Somebody on the chairlift. The middle bottom one, I call those girls the sunshine girls with their yellow jackets. And can't quite see it with the presentation the way it is, but on my computer, on the bottom right, the chairlift's full and it's running really well. You might remember this letter. I threw this in to just talk about it a little bit more. This was the letter that the association provided the mayor and city council back in March of 2023. We had just gotten through the budget process for the FY24, 23 budget. And we were asked to basically highlight what would be the next big repair and maintenance projects for the hill. So that council could understand maybe what's coming down the pike for budgeting purposes. And so we identified two of the big projects that are still lingering, tower painting. And that's the close-up shot of the tower that's got the hidden sign on it. You can kind of see a lot of primer coming through. It's basically black is the top coat, red is the primer coat. We highlighted that the current coatings on the chairlift steelwork have reached the end of their useful life. The coatings are peeling, flaking, and are falling off. There was some steel wastage that we've identified, and that's pretty much on all 16 towers and the 2 terminals. We recommended that they be prepped and recoated as soon as possible. The quote that we had at the time estimated that it'd be about $450,000 to go through and paint all. The second item that we identified was the safety maintenance ladders and safety maintenance ladders and work platforms. And I've got the picture on the right that basically shows how the guys maintain the sheaves and the upper part of the tower. You can see that we've got fall restraint on the guys, but you can see Jason, he's leaning over pretty hard to get there. And honestly, Jason is the only one nimble and strong enough that can actually get to the top and actually perform the work. So we really do need those maintenance ladders and a work platform. Basically, the work platform be something flat and stable that they could walk around on to do the maintenance, grease maintenance, replacement of parts and pieces. We estimated that at $180,000. So I was pretty thankful that the council reached out to us and said, hey, we want to know what's coming down the pipe. We need to do some budget planning. And for those that remember me on city council, that was music to my ears because I love to do that. So we were pretty optimistic, but then as fiscal year 24 budget process came along, we actually saw a reduction in our maintenance, repair and maintenance suggested budget items. So these are still on the table. We have started the tower painting project. We were able to get 2 done, and I'll have a budget update for you, but we were able to get 2 towers prepped and painted, A and B towers, for about $32,000. Okay, now I'll kind of switch gears and talk about the upcoming season. So 24-25 season. Bittersweet. Mr. Branshaw has chose to retire after 27 years. Bittersweet because I'm really happy for him that he gets to retire after so many years and so many different jobs, and we wish him luck. But he leaves 2 very, very big shoes to fill up there, and it's probably going to take more than 2 people to fill those shoes, and it takes about 4 people to fill those shoes. And so we're grateful for all of his service and wish him the best. He's still going to be plugged in. He's still going to be a part of the Mount Eac ski area and Sheridan Alpine Association. But as we all kind of age, we need to take a step back, and I'm learning that as well. So with that, the association has come up with a new management team. We've come up with a couple of job descriptions. One is a general manager, which is a little bit different than the manager position that Dave held. And then we came up with a mountain operations manager. And so the mountain operations manager will, in short, will take care of all of the chairlift, the equipment, the snow grooming, and the mechanical aspects of the ski hill. And the general manager will be more focused on the administration of the ski hill, along with the rental room and then lift sales. Our new mountain operations manager is in the room, and that's Bob Bernard. And we're very happy to have him on board. He's been on board, but now he's got a nice big promotion and lots more responsibility, and he's pretty excited about it. So our general manager position is still open. We're still in the recruitment process for that, and we hope to have that filled here in the next month. Another big thing that we've been working on is the Mount Eac ski area has joined the Indy Pass Resorts community. And I'll have a slide on that to talk about it a little bit more. We also have some action on our snow sports. And so we're going to have some snow sports at Mount Eac sponsored by the association, both Nordic and Alpine ski schools. The Alpine ski school has been operational for the last couple of years, kind of informally on the Bunny Hill. It's going to get a little bit more formal. And on the Nordic side, we have Kate Arduzer, that's leading that with, gosh, I think there's about 10 volunteer ski coaches that are super excited and super amped up. They're gonna train no matter if there's snow or not. They've already got that all figured out. And, our rental room's got, Nordic equipment now, and so we're gonna be able to, get the kiddos on skis and have a lot of fun. And then, the association is also starting to dream, again, of a new day lodge. And so we're taking some action to kind of move in that direction to help out with, the infrastructure up at Ski Hill. So the Indy Pass, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Indy Pass. Indy Pass is similar to the Icon Pass and the Epic Pass. And those passes are basically multi-mountain passes. And this is right off Indy's website, so they're tooting their own horn. It's Indy Pass is the fastest growing multi-mountain pass in the world. Basically, it provides 2-day access to over 200 alpine and Nordic resorts across the US, Canada, Europe, and Japan. They call it the Indy Pass because most Indy resorts are independently owned and operated by multi-generational families, providing a unique, authentic, and affordable skiing experience. And so, Mount EAC, the association reached out to Indy and they welcomed us with open arms. Thought it was really cool that we had an antique vintage chairlift that would draw a lot of attention and let us join the team. And the way it works, you can see over on the right-hand side is the Indy Pass pricing. So there's a base, I'll just focus in on the adult base pass and then the adult base pass add-on. So this is a type of ski tourism that's really catching on and becoming very popular. When I was in Aspen last spring break, we rode up with several ski groups that basically had the Icon Pass, and they were making a game out of it, trying to go to as many ski resorts as they could because they bought the pass and they could go. It's different on the Icon. There's 5 days, 7 days, depending on the resort, how many days that you would receive. So it is ski tourism. I think this is going to help the city a lot in the tourism. I'm anticipating that we're going to see a pretty good handful of tourists come just to ski Mount EAC. And I think 2 days access is probably perfect. Let's see, 85% of the Indy Pass revenue is paid back to the resorts. And the payouts are pegged at the highest window rate that we have. And there's a formula that basically gets crunched on how the revenue sharing or profit sharing is administered. And so we're pretty excited about that. So we'll get tourism and we'll get some funding from it as well. It's not just good for the ski tourism's coming here, and that's what I wanted to focus in on the pass pricing. So the adult base pass is $349. The adult base pass add-on is $269. So our association members and non-association members that have a season pass, they will be able to get an Indy Pass at a reduced rate. That's that add-on price of $269. So if they buy a season pass at Mount Eccles, then they can get an Indy Pass for a discount, and they can go and be ski tourists too and ski in other locations. Eagle Crest is Indy Pass resort, so 2 days down in Juneau would be a pretty easy one for us to go. And $269, you can see that price is pretty reasonable compared to what I paid at Aspen last year. I gave you that Indy Pass website in case anybody's interested in more information. So earlier, and I had to look back, I think it was September 12th when I started working with Sam and Kevin when they, wanted to, get some budget numbers for the ski hill. And, I heard, one council member say, well, that was the ask numbers, right? And I think that's the wrong word. That's the wrong way to think about it. The city was reaching out to us, the staff, to help them develop their budget. And so the association suggested these budget numbers. And so it was based basically on, our experience, of course, and then our forward thinking on what the budget needs will be. So it's not necessarily an ask, it's more of a suggestion of what it should be. And I might be parsing words there, but it did kind of strike me a little odd. So what we suggested for repair and maintenance, based on the tower painting project that we are embarking on, we suggested $25,000. For the water, sewer, and refuse reimbursement, we suggested the $1,200 that's been there, and then we suggested another $2,000 for snowmaking operations. So a total line of $3,200. Telephone reimbursement for $2,000. Now that's been something that has not been reimbursed since the 2013 agreement. It's in the agreement that the city will provide telephone. Which makes sense, but it hasn't been a budget item, and it's been easy for staff, and I'm not saying Sam, previous city managers to say, oh, it's not in the budget, so I can't reimburse that. Additionally, we asked, not asked, I broke my rule, suggested $5,000 for the chairlift maintenance and $15,000 for the general liability insurance. And copied below is what was in the November 13 council work session packet, and you guys are very familiar with that. I know you're working hard on that. One thing to note also too is that the association's fiscal year is November 1 through October 31. So we're already into our new fiscal year. And the city's fiscal year obviously is or as you know, is the calendar year. So you're not quite there yet. This next slide is a pie chart. So based on our budget, draft budget, we're looking at a total revenue of $295,200. And I basically categorized the revenue in hopes to highlight what the city's contribution to the city-owned ski program is. So starting up at the top and on the right, I'll go clockwise. So the program service fees are about $53,000. That's about 18%. This on the left-hand pie, this is our suggestion for the budget. We suggested $50,200 from the city's general fund, about 17% of the overall budget. The cell tower pass-through funds, and you guys know that those are restricted funds that the association worked hard with the telecom providers in the state to be allowed to sublease Tripod Hill and bring those funds to the program. That's about $72,000, about 25% of the revenue. And then the association makes up the balance. And on the right-hand side, it's about $119,000 or 40% of the revenue comes from the association. On the left-hand side was the November 13 budget that was in the council packet. And you can see, and you guys know, the general fund contribution shrunk up to $11,600, which represents only about 4% of the program's budget revenue. What the association is trying very hard to do and is committed to is to leave the program service fees static. There's so much inflation over the last couple of years, increases in taxes. We want to maintain our program service fees so that we can continue to provide an affordable recreational opportunity for the community. So we're gonna protect those program service fees until we can't, but that's our highest priority. So as the city's general fund contribution shrinks, the association's contribution increases. And so with that November 13 budget, the association's contribution shot up to almost $158,000 or 53%. Looking at the budget that was in the November 20 work session packet, it looked like the $15,000 for the general liability insurance was put back in, and that bumps the general fund contribution to $26,000, which is about 9% of the overall program revenue. So even with that, and I think that's very appropriate, and obviously the program is grateful for that. But it still highlights that the city's contribution for the city program is still less than 10%. The association's going to be kicking in on about $143,000, about 48%, through its membership fees, its fundraisers, and donations. I like to go back and forth on these two slides. You can see it grow, so keep growing. I got one giggle in it. All right, I remember somebody asked or said that council wanted to see our budget, and so this is what these slides are for, is to basically help council understand the program budget. The first page here is our nonprofit revenue. I just kind of went through those on those pie charts, and so that pretty much summarizes that. But you can see what our program service fees are what contribute to that. It's basically all our lift fees. This total city of Cordova, I threw the site lease fees in there since those go through the city. And then all of our fundraisers, I wanted to highlight those so you can see what those are. And then the rest is basically the association's nonprofit contribution. Our expenditures are pretty straightforward. It's not too complicated of a program. So our accounting fees about $10,000. We don't have a bookkeeper on staff, and so we use Goodrich Accounting, and that's about $10,000 a year to keep all of the books square. Got a little bit in advertising and promotion, bank fees. They always take some money. Fuel, not too big of a budget for fuel. It's about $7,000. Most of that is in the grooming. Insurance, general liability, 15,000 was the suggested budget amount there. You can see it's kind of increased over the last couple of years. Insurance, and you guys know this too, is increasing. So we were trying to lead that duck a little bit, and ours renew in March, and so we'll know that number better in the first quarter of next year. The lift inspection, we're anticipating about $5,000. The lift inspection just occurred. We have the lift inspector here on Monday. It's a 2-day process. He writes the lift on Monday and then writes up the report, looks at all of our logs the next day. And so we just left yesterday, and we'll have his report within a couple days, hopefully tomorrow or maybe on Friday. And then we'll get our certificate. And the certificate, the lift inspection, is a state requirement. Interestingly enough, it's run through the Department of Labor, and it's in the same category as elevators. Whether it's a hotel elevator or anybody that gets on something that's moving, and that's either has a cable or some sort of mechanism to do that. So it's required by law, and we do it each year. You'll see that the actual in 23 was actually 0, and that's a good thing. We didn't get an invoice that year, and it was the same inspector that came back, And I was anticipating when I met him that he'd say, well, I can't do this one until you settle up your other invoice. I was ready for that, but he never brought it up, so I think he forgot and we're not reminding him and we're saving the city. We've already got their certificate, so anyway, but we are anticipating lift inspections to be about $5,000. Repairs and maintenance is $15,000. That account code in that budget is basically when we call a third party to come and work on something on the chairlift. So it could be Cordova Outboards, it could be Wilson Construction, it could be Peterson's, but that's what those dollars go for. It's different than the maintenance that the staff is doing. Ski patrol expense, we've got a little bit there to keep all our first aid stuff in good shape. Payroll expenses, we've got about $143,000 in payroll. That covers about 10 to 12 employees, mostly temporary. Telephone, again, you'll see that number 2,000, and then utilities, water, 3,200. And you'll see that preliminary actual fiscal year 24 jump out at you, at least it should. It made me fall on my chair, but it was $10,000 for water last year. And I've got another slide to talk about that a little bit more, and so I'll get into that detail later. So that's our expenditures. The capital budget is the last page, and then I kind of bring everything together at the bottom of that page. So the leasehold improvements, so that's what the accountants like to call it. So when the association expends money on city-owned buildings, that's a leasehold improvement. We've got $12,000 there. We've got some mechanical equipment to replace in the snack shack and in what we call the shop and the rental room building. We've also got a little bit in the heating elements. Ski trails is basically maintenance on the ski trails, keeping those alders kind of pushed back so that they don't choke the runs. And the machinery and equipment, the city owned tower chair improvements, that's the $30,000, and that's basically the painting project that we're planning to do on this next summer. We've got a fresh quote that just came in today. The estimate is about $13,000 per tower for the next 4 towers. And DMI is Dutch Marine Industries our painting contractor. He did a really good job with A and B, and we're looking forward to working with him on the next ones. But the nice thing is he's got some experience, and he knows once we get up to G tower, it's gonna be different, and so we got a different price. We're going to invest another $10,000 into rental gear. So our total capital expenditures so far is gonna be about $62,000, and this is still just a draft budget. We're in limbo. Can't really finish our budget until the city finishes your budget, and then we'll know what we need to do, if we need to make any priority decisions or what. So our total net on this page, net loss is gonna be about $137,000. And again, these numbers don't match the pie exactly, but they're close because we haven't really massaged this too close. So net loss means the association makes up for that so that we have a balanced budget. Okay, so the next slide is our snowmaking at Mount Eac. I'm not sure if everybody knows or understands what we're doing up there for snowmaking. We only make snow for the Bunny Hill and the base station. So if it's thin there and we need to make some snow, then we will. We started snowmaking last night, and that's what that picture on the left is. Good shot of the snowmaker up closer to the snack shack building and blowing down. In the middle picture, it's kind of faint and my mouse doesn't work for the screen projection, or does it? Is it there? Right in the middle, slow, right there is where the machine is. And basically it's aiming up the hill. Obviously we've got this cold temperature, this week and, snow in the forecast on, the weekend. So this is prime snow, making time. And, we're gonna make it so that we're hopeful, that we can, open the rope tow this weekend and have the kids, skiing this weekend. Fingers crossed for that. Over on the right-hand side is a great picture of a manhole. Pretty loud for that one. I got a look from Randy, thank you. Anyway, looking down in the manhole, right to left, the main's coming in with the valve that's closed, right? And then right next to it is the meter, and then there's a backflow prevention, and then it goes into those blue hoses that are basically a pressure pump to make sure that there's enough pressure to push the water up to the next spot. I'm taking that picture because what jumped out to us and the city staff was, why was it $10,000 for water last year? The meter report was that we used 1 million gallons of water to make the snow last year. That didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense. We've dug into it, and records that we have and the invoices that have come from the water department. The water department logs show those numbers, but it just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense because if you look back clear to fiscal year 16, we never broached $15,000 or $1,500. So it stands out like something wasn't quite right, but we couldn't put our finger on it, and so we're choosing to move forward. And what we've done operationally is increase our snowmaking log. So we're going down into the manhole. We're getting a meter reading before we start. We're going to get a meter reading after we're done, and we'll be logging how many hours that we're snowmaking, and we're going to see if we can figure out what's happening. Obviously, we're assuming that the meter is calibrated and all that, but something is up. Something's not quite right to have a utility bill that high. So hopefully we'll find something and figure it out. So we'll see if we'll keep it posted on it. Another great shot of the parking lot. And this is where the dream begins. So we're thinking and dreaming of a day lodge. And we're very grateful that Chelsea's grandmother had a nice archive box. And this photo is actually a planning document back from the early 1970s of skiing in Cordova. And it's kind of fun to really look at and play one of those I Spy with my little eyes in this picture, because not only do they have a nice day lodge, but up here, let's see, my mouse works, up here is a nice hotel. And wouldn't that be nice? You could stay right there at the slopes. You got a nice big parking lot. You could almost ski into the lift and ski out of the lift and get right to your hotel room. I'm starting to really appreciate history, especially with hanging out with Kathy and thinking about the age of the equipment and in Cordova and our dreams. But to have a dream like that and to have it end up pretty much where we are now, I think it's been a huge success. But so we're dreaming again, and we're going to start planning. The association has created an infrastructure committee that's helping identify infrastructure needs. to provide the city a good heads up on what might be coming down the pipe budget wise. And we're also created a new day lodge design committee. And so we're gonna start down that. We can't really go and ask for grant funds if you don't know what you want. So you gotta figure out what you want and come up with a conceptual design. So we've engaged Z Architects as a company and architect firm, and we've engaged them to come up with help us come up with a preliminary conceptual design. The vision that we have is to have a facilitated community workshop or multiple workshops, so that it's not just the association dreaming, but it's the whole community dreaming about what we want up there and what might make sense. And we'll come up with site development and building space and use and design criteria. It should be a lot of fun. So stay tuned. There's more to come on this one. We're gonna start moving. And with that, and a little bit of history, I'll leave you with this. This is the 50th year anniversary for the chairlift in Cordova, which is pretty remarkable. And if you think about that, the chairlift has been in Cordova longer than it was in Sun Valley. The 1939, what is it, American and Wire chairlift. And so that's pretty amazing. That's 50 years old, or not 50 years old, 50 years old in Cordova, 88 years old, combined Sun Valley and Cordova. It also, this season also marks the 35th year anniversary for the Sheridan Ski Club and the Sheridan Alpine Association operating and managing the Mount Leac ski area. And again, thinking about the pioneers, the visionaries in the early 1970s of what they wanted to bring to Cordova for recreational purposes, for the community, and for the kids especially. I think it's been a tremendous success. And one of the phrases in the Michael Leary letter that I shared with you guys from the historical point, he made the point that Ski Hill was a serious money pit for the city up until about 1989 when Sheridan Ski Club and Sheridan Alpine Association took over and helped out. So again, I think it's tremendous success and something that we can all be very proud of. And with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Council?
Sounds like I did my job.
Do you know how many,
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
yeah, hang on just a sec, how many you had? The membership listed there, 400.
There was 461 last year. I think we had 430 the year before.
Do you have an estimate of how many families that represents? How many households that represents?
Not at my fingertips.
Probably about half that or.
Half, I would say almost a little bit more than half.
Yeah.
Because not everybody, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe if I had to thumbnail it, probably 60%.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Baylor.
Yeah, thanks for that presentation, Dave. That was great. So just a few things I want to comment on, and I do have some questions, but I guess first comment is yeah, the pass through on those towers, you know, that one recently the pass through amount got updated because of some issues. And it was the city staff that worked very, very hard on that and lawyers, as the co-op wasn't really willing to pay that amount, but that was a big boost to you guys' income. So shout out to city staff for helping you out on that. You guys, you stated you got a $137,000 loss. We started with a $1.4 million loss. So deficit. So I'm glad to hear you're going after some grants. When we look at the ski hill, we have to look at the whole city in its entirety. It's a great program, but we're kind of tasked with all the programs and everything going on. we have, the ice worm swim team, for instance, there's 80 kids that are in that now, 20 parents that are volunteering, and their costs have gone up to $520 to $675 per student. So it's a substantial cost for them, and they run that for about 150 days, so it's a long program and it's a great program. But we aren't able to cut their costs down with this budget, which is something we all would have liked to do. I gotta look at my notes here, Dave, bear with me. There's the grants, it's come up at the council level over the last few years about the Ski Hill being a 501c3 nonprofit. Now, I gotta admit I know nothing about that, but I know it's been discussed. It was even one of the council members said they would help the Alpine Ski Association get that paperwork in, and perhaps that would allow them to get more grants. I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe you can address that. The other thing is we've got this Cordova Community Foundation. I mean, they've recently gave grants for covered spaces for Cape St. Elias, which is probably most people don't even know where it's at, even for recycling. So that might be an avenue for some of these major tower painting and other jobs that you got to do. So maybe you guys can look at that, or maybe you have. And then if I get the response to that, and then I have one more question.
Right, sounds good, Tom. Well, you remember when we worked together on council, I really appreciated disclosure. So I should provide full disclosure for you. I think I'm still the president of the Cordova Little League. I'm also the treasurer of the Cordova Ice and Swim Team, so I'm very familiar with what's going on with that. In regards to our nonprofit status, we are a nonprofit, a 501c4. We're not a 501c3, and that was a determination that the IRS made based on our application of what we described, what we were going to do, the association, what they were going to do back in 1989 when they took on the first contract with the city. I have been working with Kathy Sherman, and we are developing a plan to have the Cordova Historical Society be a fiscal sponsor for the Sheridan Alpine Association. And basically what that does is the Cordova Historical Society is a 501.
I don't know what that happened. Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, keep going. I'll just see if I can figure this out.
So anyway, the Cordova Historical Society is a 501c3. They can be a fiscal sponsor to a 501c4. And basically the projects and the funds would be managed through the Cordova Historical Society. So there's nothing that needs to be done as far as the Sheridan Alpine Association's nonprofit status, because there's a workaround. And Kathy Sherman and I are working on that. And I assume we'll continue on that front. And again, once we can identify some projects that would meet some grant criteria, then we'll go for it.
Okay, and have you approached the Cordova Community Foundation?
For what? For funding a project?
Yeah, well, yeah, for funding. I might, their what do you call it? Their whole process or their for being is to enhance things in Cordova. And gosh, getting those towers taken care of, which is a huge amount of money, it just seems like it'd be right down their alley. So just curious if you've looked at all your options rather than our depleting funds at the city.
I think that'll be a reaction, Tom. I think again, I feel strongly that this is a city program. And so I'm hopeful that the city would continue to be a partner in the program at a significant level. I remember, and I don't envy the city council right now having to try to balance a budget with the numbers that you're looking at. I fully appreciate that. But until we understand what the city is going to do, then we'll probably will react to that. And certainly there's plenty of projects and, we'll certainly look at the foundation and others.
I think Councilmember Sherman had something to add to this.
Thank you, Mayor. So just a small correction, I would say, we had discussed this in the past when I was still museum director. I don't believe the Cordova Historical Society has been broached with being a partner, but I know they do that for other entities or have done it. We're doing it for covered spaces. So that is a possibility, yes, as a 501c4, but I have not in my capacity carried on that conversation at all. What I have been trying to do for the Sheridan Alpine Association is complete a historic document for them, both paper and photographic. And that's been my role recently with my limited capacity. So just a small correction.
Hey, anybody else?
I've got another follow-up if nobody else has anything.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, and so this is a little bit out of the, well, I guess it still involves you guys there. There was an application for an easement across your parking lot to access the property to build some buildings there, and you guys spoke not in favor of it. I'm just curious of knowing that the property taxes is a lot, that's where we get our money to pay these things, and the more we can expand our buildings, the better off we are. So is there a reason you guys, or how did you come to the conclusion of not supporting that project? I was just curious.
We had a board meeting and we discussed it at the board level after staff brought it to our attention. We reviewed it and we had continued discussions with the city staff. The decision that the association board made was to align our comments with the city's comments. I received a draft of the city's letter. It looked like there was enough said, and so the association didn't weigh in on it after that.
Okay, so you didn't object, you weren't concerned about any parking spaces, because I thought that's what we were told. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
We aligned the decision was to align our comments with the city, and we thought the city did a fine job with their letter.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Just one more quick comment. There's going to be some openings for council here in March. We can always use the budget hawk like yourself to get back on.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate the invite.
Can have a big spot too. Well, thank you, Dave, and thanks for the rest of the ski club member, Tom, for all your years of service up there, and you're just continuing service, but congratulations on the new position. Thanks everybody
You might have a
for
tough
helping.
position also.
No. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
All right. Finally got that long-winded guy out of there. Okay, so we are up to audience comments regarding agenda items. Anybody have anything to say about anything on the agenda? 3 minutes, name, address. Nobody? They're waiting till the meeting, I guess. Okay, no audience comments, then we'll move along to chairperson representatives of boards and commissions. I don't see anybody from the hospital board or the school board, is there? Other boards here? Okay, we do have a student council report in our packet.
By who?
I don't know.
Who is the rep? I do not know. Sarah Hodger sent that to me. She said she got it from her rep. Okay. Sorry.
We'll find out for next
Who the
time.
rep is.
Sure. We'll find out next time. Okay, consent calendar is before you.
Okay, I did some minutes. On the consent calendar, Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Ken Jones,
Yes.
Dave Zastro,
Yes.
Kristen Smith,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey. Yes. Kathy Sherman.
Yes.
The lonely minutes are approved.
All right, thank you. And so the minutes are approved there. Consideration of bids, proposals, contracts, we have none. Report of officers, I don't have too much to add to anything. I did. I'll give a 2-minute interview to Margie Bauman from the Cordova Times on the resolution that we passed opposing the proposal to the Board of Fish. And she wanted to comment, I referred her to the CDFU letter, and she said she had tried to contact some council members. I'm not sure if she finally contacted one or not, but it was a short conversation. I think that's all I have for now. Anybody have any questions? Okay, manager report.
So besides the budget, Samantha and I, have reached out. Samantha's out of town for the next.
And your mic.
Oh, sorry. So Samantha and I have reached out to the Cordova Ice Run Swim team. She is out of town for the next few weeks. And asked for some information so that when she gets back, we can have some discussions about what we can do there, including we've asked for some roster verification. They sent us their insurance. We've sent that to our insurance, just to make sure we're all good there. And then also a finalized schedule that includes their practices and meets and clinics and what their schedules for holidays look like. So we're waiting for that. I'll reach out to them at the end of the week. I've been working with staff and Holly on the tax Q&As, the pamphlets and the forms so that we can be ready to get some information out and have handouts on the tax. But the new tax things, they're not new because they're just clarifications of what the taxes are and how we're gonna be doing that. We did get an email, for the 2018-2020 fish disaster declaration. It's the application, we put it in already and sent it back. The amount was approximately $770,000. That's all the information we really have for now. We did not have any information on commercial fishermen applications. So we will keep you posted as we hear more on that. The original planner who had accepted the position, pulled their application. We are now in negotiation with the second, applicant. So we'll see how that rolls. We did not get the PIP grant, and as of yet, we have not heard on our sewer planning grant, but I believe it just closed this week. So that would be pretty amazing if we'd already heard about that. But it's in, we got it in there. That's all I really have. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Sam? Thank you, Sam.
Yep.
Clerk's report.
I have the board and commission vacancy flyer in there again, hopefully for the last time. Trying to have those appointments done at the December 4th meeting. So the deadline to get me applications is the 26th, but if any come to me up to the day of the meeting, I will still bring them to you. And then for this, in the December meetings and into the future, I will start putting election notices in as our declaration of candidacy for that March 4th, 2025 election opens December 17th. So that whole process is getting started in my office. And that is all I have to report. Can answer questions.
Yeah, for the public out there, we're still looking for several boards and commissions members to fill seats that expire in November, so almost every board commission has empty seats, so in addition to the 3 council members and the mayor's seat that are up for election next March, so get your name in if you're interested in helping out. Anybody have any questions for the clerk? Let me know if they put their hand up there.
Yes, will do.
Okay, moving along then to our correspondence. Letters from the ice one swim team. Commerce, yada, yada, yada. Anybody have any comments, questions on the correspondence?
There you go, Mr. Mayor. I was on mute.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I see that. I think the issue with the development on the ski hill, I think we're going to talk about that later in the agenda. Is that correct? Otherwise, I'd talk about the correspondence there now. So,
Yeah, that's item 18 on your agenda.
okay, very good. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll move along into ordinances and resolutions. Our first one is ordinance 1223, an ordinance of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, establishing economic development property tax exemptions related to commercial and residential development in the city and setting forth criteria for such exemptions in a standardized application form. This is second reading and will require at least 4 positive votes. As a roll call. So anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Who was that? Kristen? Is
Smith, yeah,
there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm in support of this, and it's something that we spend a fair amount of time talking about in terms of the kinds of development for which we wanted to provide incentives. And the attorney has worked on coming up with, I think it came from the attorney, worked on coming up with application forms, and so I'm in support. Thank you.
Councilmember Rainey.
We had some discussion in the last go around about the single family residential, and I do have to agree with Councilmember Baylor. I appreciate all the work that's gone into this, but I think upon reflection, I do think we need to remove the single family residential and focus on mixed use and commercial development and multi-unit, multi-family residential.
Was that a motion to remove the single family residential?
Yes, please.
I'll second that.
Do you have anything else to add to that? Councilmember Rainey?
No.
Councilmember Baylor? On
No,
the
I
amendment.
think- Yeah, I think I've stated my objections before. I mean, we've traditionally built 2 to 3 houses a year in Cordova regardless, without any incentives. I don't know of anybody that's walked in and said, boy, I'd build a house if I had an incentive. $1,500, for one house, doesn't seem like much, a little over $100 a month for the people building the house. But if you take that 3 houses, there's $4,500 in 1 year. That's like taking one house off the tax rolls, and now you get 2 houses the next year, and now you're up to $4, $5, $6, $7,500, and you get 3 houses the next year. You're just snowballing, and right, we've had to cut programs, and it's not needed. It's not really an incentive to build you affordable housing. If it was, I'd be all in on it. But so Thanks.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Jones.
Yeah, I think the point that is getting missed here is, we're trying to go from 3 houses on average that we have been for the last 2 decades and get up to 5 or 6 or 7. And the city is going to get their pound of flesh no matter what on this. Especially, we've reduced it down instead of 100% exemption to 150,000. So these new houses are still going to be taxed at just a slightly lower rate. Any incentive to building and development needs to be celebrated in our community. We're not keeping up with replacing the degrading structures as it is. We have a housing shortage we have for some time. And anything we can do to incentivize members of the public or developers to come in and build any type of housing needs to be something that we need to pursue. And I think that, a compromise was already made to appease the dissenting voices on the council. That's why we went from the 100% for single family down to 150,000. And I'm not going to be in favor of the amendment for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments on the amendment? Go ahead, Councilmember Smith.
Thank you. Yeah, I also am going to vote against the amendment. I think there was at one point when we talked about it earlier, there was mention of why would we give a tax break? And I understand that we reduced the amount to which it would be applied, but why would we give a tax break to somebody building a $600,000 home? And I thought that it's about people building smaller homes. I think it's not about the $600,000 home. And we need starter homes. That's what hasn't happened all over this country for the last 3 decades, I think, is not enough people building starter homes. And those are the people that could benefit from, even if it's a little bit. So yes, ultimately, if homes get built, then they are going to be adding to the tax rolls over the long term. And that's why I support this. Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't support the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Ready to vote on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I do a roll call
Aye.
on that?
Aye.
Yeah, go ahead and do a roll call on the amendment.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call on the amendment. Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Kristen Smith,
No.
Tom Baylor, Tom on the amendment,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
No.
Kathy Sherman,
No.
Ken Jones,
No.
Dave Zastro.
No.
The amendment fails. 2-5.
Okay, so we're back to the ordinance that's in the packet. Councilmember Rainey, did you have further discussion?
Yep.
Councilmember Sherman,
No, I'm in favor of this as it is proposed today.
Councilmember Kinsman,
I'm in favor as it's proposed. We've discussed it and yeah, we've done our concessions and yep, as it stands, I'm in favor.
thank you. Councilmember Baylor,
No, I'm opposed for obvious reasons. This does not give any incentive to a developer. Developer doesn't make any money off this. There isn't room to build 6 houses. There isn't crew to build 6 houses a year here. So it's a pie in the sky wish, but it's throwing money out. So if you want to do it, go for it.
Councilmember Zastro,
Yeah, I'm going to be in support of it as it is.
Councilmember Jones.
Yeah, I support it.
Okay, anybody want another round?
On ordinance 1223, as written in the packet, Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Ken Jones,
Yes.
Dave Zastro,
Yes.
Kristen Smith,
Yes.
Tom Baylor,
No.
Wendy Rainey.
No.
Motion carries 5-2.
Okay, and that's enough to pass, right?
Correct. Adopted.
Okay, substitute ordinance 1224. An ordinance of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing the city manager to enter into a purchase and sale agreement with Paul and Linda Kelly doing business as Bayside Storage for property described as Lot 4A, Northfield Development Park, edition number 2. This is first reading again because it's a sale agreement now in all these.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Rainey?
Yeah, we changed this up to the sale. That's what I'd like to see, and I support this as it's listed.
Thank you, Councilmember Kinsman.
Yep, we had a great discussion last week on it, and I support it as a sell. Thanks for the reasons that are stated in it. Thank you.
Councilmember Baylor?
Yeah, I support it.
Councilmember Sherman?
Yes, I support it.
Member Zastro?
Yes, I support it for reasons previously stated.
Councilmember Smith?
Um, I would echo earlier comments. I support it.
Councilmember Jones?
Yeah, I guess I have a quick question for staff. Did the applicant get a chance to review this before it was in the packet?
I emailed Paul, but I haven't heard a response from him.
We reached out to him and we have not had a response.
So before this went in the packet, he got a chance to review this, and we're not gonna see this come back now with modifications?
Yeah, it's an ordinance and it comes back for a public hearing and a second reading. This is just the first reading of this substitute ordinance.
Okay, well, I'll support it, but I just had that question on if he had a chance to review it before it went in the packet, if there was any, back and forth negotiation on the language here.
He hasn't responded.
Yeah, I don't believe there was any back and forth yet on this, but he will see it now and he will, I believe, be in town for the next round, so. Anybody, did I miss anybody? I think you got everybody, yeah? Anybody want another round? This is just a roll call, or a voice, well, let's do a roll call since it's on.
Okay,
Too
good
many
idea.
people online.
Too many. On substitute ordinance 1224 for first reading. Wendy Rainey,
Yes,
Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yes,
Ken Jones,
Yes,
Kathy Sherman,
Yes,
Kristen Smith,
Yes.
Dave Zastro.
Yes,
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Ordinance 1225. This is first reading again. An ordinance of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing the transfer of $289,898 from the permanent fund. Is that missing something? To the grant project fund, or? Is that written right on this?
Yes.
It's called the Permanent Fund Grant Project Fund.
That's what our permanent fund is really called?
Well, that line item within the permanent fund.
Oh, to the grant administration transfer from permanent fund 401-390-49998 to pay the Second Street upgrade project and White Shed pedestrian path project grant matches for FY 25.
Mr. Mayor, so moved.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Jones?
Yeah, I support this. That's what the permanent fund is for supporting these public infrastructure projects. Our forefathers, whatever you want to call it, our predecessors on council set this account up for doing these type of capital projects. So I like to see it be used for that, and I will support it.
Okay, thank you. Second was Rainey.
yep, I support it. We discussed it earlier. For reasons in previous meetings, I support it.
Councilmember Smith,
I support it.
Councilmember Zastro,
I support it.
Councilmember Kinsman.
Yeah, I wish we could find the money somewhere else, but obviously what we're getting for this money is a great improvement for our community. I am a little concerned looking forward to next year, and I've talked to Sam a little bit about that, and I know she's very concerned too, because our grant match goes up substantially next year, but I'll support this.
Councilmember Sherman,
I'm in support. Thank you.
Councilmember Baylor,
Yeah, I'll support it because I support the projects and we don't have any money anywhere else to do this.
hey, anybody want a second round? This is first reading, so it only takes 4 votes to move it along. The final vote on this will require 7 yes votes because it comes from the permanent fund, so keep that in mind too. So, anybody, second chance, last chance, last call? Go ahead and call the roll, Susan.
On first reading of ordinance 1225, Ken Jones,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman,
Yeah,
Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Kristen Smith,
Yes.
Dave Zastro.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, do that again with a public hearing, do a long public hearing next time. Okay, no unfinished business, we got no miscellaneous business, the discussion of city of Cordova comments regarding the Kelly access easement requested at the state. Do you wanna start this or do you want me to?
I feel like the memo explains it, and I think it's information. Anybody has any questions?
Okay, this came up because I received a call that the state had gotten opposition comments from the city and the council has not discussed it, and I'm of the belief, and maybe council differs from it, but that anytime we oppose projects, that the council should at least get a chance to discuss it. And I'm not taking one side or the other on it. I just think that council needs to have that discussion. Because when this came before council, there was comments, the comment period was open, nobody said anything from staff nor the council, nobody commented one way or the other, and then your opposition comments, we just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on development incentives and I think that it needs to be discussed by more than just a couple people, so. Anyway, that was the reason it's before you, is because I asked for it to be before council. In fact, I would refer that council made a policy decision that any opposition comments to anything be at least mentioned in the manager's report to the council. So,
Kathy has her hand up.
yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Sherman.
Thank you, Mayor Allison. So a little complicated for sure, but none of us did comment on this. And that is a true statement because nothing was brought to our attention. But it is a staff matter and staff replied as they should have. And I would recommend that city council direct the mayor to notify the state that the comments submitted were the city's by the city manager or city public works director were the city's official comments. And if council, the mayor's comments, I think were out of line. So I think we need to clarify and clean up our process. But I think we need to backstep a little bit. So I do think the mayor's comments were out of line. And I think we need to clarify that with the state so that we can move back and proceed with the process with staff. And that would be my recommendation.
Go ahead, Councilmember Jones.
Yeah, I would disagree with the comments before me, and actually, I would agree with your comments, Mr. Mayor. I think that this was brought up at a previous meeting. We were alerted to the public comment period, and it was on our agenda. And we chose not to direct staff to make comments. There was no action taken by this body. I believe that staff going out and being anti-development goes in direct opposition to what we've been trying to accomplish with being a pro-development council. So it's I would have liked to see if staff wanted to put in opposition comments to a development, I would have liked to see it come before us and we could have discussed it before the city took a position.
The mayor.
Thank you. Oh, Councilmember Rainey.
I disagree with Councilmember Jones. I agree with Councilmember Sherman. I'd also like to direct the mayor to retract his comments since the comments were inappropriate. They were done without council directing him to do so, and they were done outside of the comment period, and there's inconsistencies and wrong information. The mayor states that no discussion was had with the planning commission, city council, and the ski club directors, landowner and applicant. And we just had testimony to the fact that the ski club was involved in that comment. So because the comments made by the mayor were done outside of the comment period, they were done and not directed by city council, I would direct the mayor to retract his comments completely and direct the state to take the comments from staff. That's why we have staff. Staff does their job. They do their research. We had an opportunity to talk about this. It was before the council. We chose not to. That's where I stand with this.
I'm happy to write something to the state, to Savannah, to DNR, to clarify now that council has had the discussion. And if you're agreeing with the planner's letter, I'm happy to tell her that I will not retract my statements because I believe that council and or the planning commission, probably all of them, should have been consulted on this issue. So, and that's all I told the state in my letter was that it hadn't. I will clarify that the ski club evidently had a discussion about it and agreed with the cities, but I wasn't making the comments towards the project. I said that it hadn't been discussed, so I did consider it official from the city. And I asked, if you read the last paragraph of my letter, I asked if comments could still be provided for that.
You commented as the mayor without being directed by city council. Your voice is the voice of city council. You overstepped and you need to retract your comments.
Point of order. I disagree. Point of order.
Yeah.
We don't need to.
We don't need to be going back and forth on this. Not everybody has had a chance to comment, and we have a council member going rogue here and chastising of mayor. It's out of order.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I would like to also request that you withdraw the comments for a few reasons. It clearly had the appearance to the state of an action that was contradicting actions that had already been taken, and there was a question about whether the mayor was acting unilaterally, which is what happened. There was not consultation with council, and I kind of was struck by the dates. The comments, I think, were made on the 31st of October, something like that. And then we had a council meeting on the 6th of November when those comments could have been reported in the mayor's report. That seemed like an appropriate place to me to note that a comment had been submitted. And anyway, so that's one thing that comes to mind. I think what this feels dangerous to me. I mean, as I read the comments that were submitted to the state, and this was a state process, this was the state asking the city for comments about a request for an easement on state land. And the comments that were submitted were written from the perspective of acting in the city's best interest. What is in the city's best interest, given the activity that happens in the area where the easement was requested? And I didn't see anything out of line. I thought it was a professional response, and that's what we rely on our staff to do. And I think this could get dangerous if we're saying we want, or we're undermining the city manager if we're asking the city manager to send us, because basically then we're saying, show us every piece of correspondence you have. I mean, how does the city manager know which issues are okay for her to respond to and speak for the city and which aren't? And like I said, I feel like this undermines the city manager's judgment if we're saying we want you to show us all your correspondence. Like, people are saying, well, we're hindering development. Again, I go back to those comments were written to be responding to this request in the city's best interest. It was done with consultation with the ski hill. So the entity that manages the property where this easement is taking place agreed with the comments that were made. So I feel like consultation happened. The comments were made to protect the city's best interest. And I feel that we should be very careful about not undermining the city manager. Thank you.
Councilmember Zastro.
Yeah, I concur with Councilmember Sherman and Councilmember Smith on their comments. I think the comments should be from the mayor should be rescinded. I feel that undermining our city manager in this way is, again, very dangerous, as has been spoken. I think all parties that needed to be involved were. We as city council had an opportunity to comment when it was brought before us. I think all the proper channels were taken on being sure all were involved. So again, I concur with Councilmember Smith's assessment of this. I'm afraid that we're going down a path that's very dangerous, and in requiring the city manager to disclose everything that she does, or restricting the city manager's ability to do her job, is just not a path we want to go down.
Yeah, I think everybody's missing the point that it was.
Well, let me finish speaking, please.
Go ahead, Councilmember Baer.
All right, let's lighten it up a little bit, first of all. And I don't know if you guys remember the line from Cool Hand Luke. Is what we have here is a failure to communicate. And that's what happened. Now look, this was in our packet on September 18th. Now, I'm going to put the onus on council. Council's made a mistake of not asking about it, especially myself. I've been in the development business all my life. We just spent many hours on pro-development workshops. You have a development in front of you, you're thinking, when I looked at it, like, well, sure, this is a no-brainer, this is going to go through. It came to council without any backup, without any opinion. And we have in the past, when we've gotten things, let's say about aquaculture or other things, I think even Councilman Jones spoke up about this at meetings, like, have you run it by CDFU? Did you run it by the Harbor Commission? Let's see what they've got to say. So we have done this in the past. But this came to us on the 18th without any backup information, no hint that there was going to be an issue. On the 19th, the city sent the letter out opposing this. So that tells me they knew on the 18th that they were going to oppose this. Why didn't they at that meeting go, look, we're not going to support this because of this reason? So I have a real problem with that. The staff should have brought this to us. We should have had a conversation. I've seen too many times over the years with city planners, city managers that have done things on the road, that done things that weren't the best interest of the city just because they could, you know. And it would not have taken any time for staff to go, hey, look, this is what it is, and this is why we're going to oppose it. Now, my understanding is they're opposing it because of the parking issue. Two issues that I don't have all the information. It seems like it was parking and they wanted F Street developed. And when I asked the head of the Sheridan Ski Club, that was their concern with parking, he didn't confirm or deny that. He kind of scapegoated that one. So where did the parking issue? Did that come from the city staff? Would it surprise you that I had a gentleman take a look at that issue up there? Didn't even have to get out of his truck. And he said we could actually end up with more parking. We could enhance the parking if this development came. So the parking issue is a non-issue. I mean, that could have been negotiated, that could have been taken care of. There's always a workaround to problems. Now, if we're going to just deny this because we just strictly want to stick with the F Street, well, that's worth a discussion, but that's also a discussion that city council should have been involved with. So was the mayor wrong maybe to send that letter? Yeah. But I think the little responsibility to staff and to council, I think we all blew this one. And I think we should take a look at it. I think council should see the reasonings, the exact reasonings why they don't want this to go through. And we should comment on it. And if we support it, then staff should change their mind. Maybe there's a very good reason we don't want to do this, but I don't see it yet. And let me just say something about F Street. If this F Street is the issue, then you work with the developer on F Street to get that developed. You also work with who are the other property owners on it. Does F Street continue on? Is there city property that could develop? Is there private lots in there? You go to all those people and you work with that, and maybe you get that street put in. If they don't want to work with you, you put the street in, you assess it. So there's always workaround. We should be pro-development, and I see we missed an opportunity with this one. And I'd like to see us revisit this and have a discussion as council. And if we agree with staff, then fine. If we don't agree with staff, I think they need to change their opinion. So that's my thoughts.
Councilor Jones.
Yeah, I would agree with the comments before mine there with Councilmember Baylor. I think that the timing is a little suspect to this. Like he said, you know, the comments went in a day after our meeting where we chose to take no action. It was on our agenda. We didn't take any action. We didn't direct staff to oppose it. We didn't direct them to support it. You know, maybe we should have discussed it further. I was under the assumption that it was a slam dunk and was going to be pushed forward without an issue. There was no supporting memorandum from the staff with any of their concerns, with any of the Sheridan Ski Club concerns in our agenda packet, in our meeting packet. And I think it probably should have been. So I understand that staff has to you know, respond to things, and I understand that they need to be the stewards of the city at times, but that's also what we're elected to make these tough decisions, and the mayor is elected to be the spokesman for the city as well. So I disagree that his comments were out of line. I think that they were in line, pointing out you know, what happened here. I think there was a pretty big failure in the public process. This if we wanted to have comments against this development, then it should have been presented to us by our staff. It's, you know, we just spent months trying to be pro-development, and then to turn around and be anti-development, just that's why nothing gets done in town. You know, it's sad to see it when it happens, but it happens a lot, you know.
Councilmember Zastro, I think you got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think what's before us, we're talking about roles, responsibilities, and authority of the members of council, mayor, and staff. And that's the concern I have. We're all definitely proponents of development. We want to see that the opportunities for developers to come in and improve their properties and make them available for rent or use. And this issue probably could be discussed in more detail, but I think the matter at hand is how we move forward in the future. And right now, I guess, again, I'm just concerned with how this move forward, the lack of communication between staff and the mayor and the mayor's willingness to go beyond what staff had already decided to do. I think that's what we need to be focused on right now. We can go back and discuss in additional ways that we can improve access to property, even this situation, how we might want to discuss with the landowner how to make that more easy for them to develop their property. But again, I think the matter at hand is what concerns me at most, is how this got so out of control.
Member Sherman? Oh, you're.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. I agree that many of the comments that have been spoken are good. I think Mr. Baylor's movie quotes are accurate and spot on. But I also believe that we, as a council, failed to highlight this item when it came before us. Staff did what they were supposed to do, and I believe that the mayor overstepped his bounds by sending this message to the state without council's authority. So that is, to me, the matter at hand, not the other issue, and we can go back and discuss that, ask for council staff to bring it forward to us, and we can discuss it. But at this point in time, I feel we should be discussing what the mayor did, which was inappropriate and not a function of his responsibility.
Councilmember Rainey.
On the off chance of being accused of going rogue again, I'd like to make a comment that this came before us. There was a comment period. The staff did their job. The citizen did not like what the staff had to say, and the mayor took it upon himself to respond to the state about an issue. What should have happened is the mayor should have come to council and talked about this, and then we could have gone it. The mayor went to the state in favor because somebody from the community called him because they didn't like a decision. And that's the problem at hand. It was overstepped. He's a representative of Cordova, and he didn't do it in personal comments. He did it as the mayor to the state. And that's the problem that we are looking at right now. It's not anti-development. The staff did their job, the staff did their research, and if everything that the staff says no to has to come before the council, we are never going to accomplish anything.
Mr. Mayor.
Didn't say everything has to come to council. As you said, if there's a comment with another agency and there's opposition to that, then it should at least be mentioned at the council table when the notice of comment period being open is there. At minimum, it should have been noticed. You didn't see that letter in the packet as correspondence, either one of our letters, until now. Could have been 2 meetings ago that it came up, but it didn't. So anyway, I'm a big boy. I can take your heat, and you're welcome to recall me if that's what you'd like to do. I don't think we're going there at all, but I didn't make comments. I said that it wasn't talked to council, and I'm happy to write them. I think Sam already told them that we would get with them tomorrow with what the council discussed, that it was gonna be discussed at the council tonight. And I'm happy to withdraw my comment that there was no discussion with the ski club, although we didn't hear from the ski club today. We heard from their treasurer. And that council agrees, a majority of council agrees with the comments that were made by the planner. I will not withdraw my whole letter. I don't know how you withdraw something that somebody's already read. Anyway, it's part of the public record, so, anyway, that's where I'm at with it. If council disagrees that they don't agree as a whole with the planner's letter, then we need to hear that now because we need to give them an answer tomorrow. If council is gonna continue the discussion on it, we need to tell them tomorrow that we're continuing discussion on it, so
Well, at some point, they're not gonna
I
accept.
agree with you.
It's
I'm
way
just,
past close.
it's council's time to decide. Who
Mr.
was-
Mayor, may I?
Councilmember Kinsler.
First time around. Councilmember Baylor, thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. I think there unfortunately is two things here. And given our current process, it looks like the mayor didn't follow that process and it was out of the comment period and speaking for the city and speaking for council. What I would like to know, and I don't know this, and it sounds like you spoke about it a little bit, Mr. Mayor, is this a time to have a discussion about this? And can we get some direction from staff, from council, so staff has some direction on do we agree with what city staff put forward to the state? Yes or no? So that's what I want to know. One thing, yes, the mayor was out of his time frame and commenting, and we as a council didn't discuss this issue. Are we able to discuss it now? So two things there. Can anyone speak to those?
They need to make their decision at some point in time, but, you know, we don't know. We can say at this point in time, council agrees with what staff has said, and there may be discussions that he can apply for an easement many times as he wants, I would suppose, but state wants to get it off of their plate sooner or later. They don't wanna have that stack of papers on their desk forever.
Can I
So
just
I would-
answer?
Yes, please.
Councilmember Kinsman, I'll just answer that, the agenda item before you is to discuss the roles of the administration and the council and the mayor, and not to discuss the easement.
Okay, thank you. And that's how I was reading it. And if there is appetite from council to discuss this decision, is that a then pending agenda item?
I would agree. I had
Okay.
hoped that the law
So
would
then
have
I'm going to say unfortunately, and this isn't me saying I disagree with what was said by the mayor, the way it was presented and the timelines in which it was done, that piece of it was out of line. And then if we need to go to pending agenda to say, hey, let's have a further discussion about this, let's do that. So that's my
A
comment.
further discussion about the comments that were submitted by me.
Yeah, if we need to, and it sounds like there's some mix in, is this the time to talk about this? That's what I want to know.
No,
No, but I think
Okay,
that
so
point
great,
of-
let's go to the next point. I've already said my comments about the mayor and his comment, so, and then we can bring this up at pending agenda, sounds
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead.
thank you. I mean, we effectively have a direction on the table. And I guess I would like to call the question, if I may.
Yeah, I hear, the way I hear it is 5-2 to notify the DNR that the cities, the comments from the planner are the comments from the city.
Yes, thank you.
Any disagreement? They had 5-2.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. So we're effectively without any real explanation, a really solid explanation, any give and take on why this project is being stopped. We're just going to let it stop. But that doesn't seem like a good council work. I mean, we're not doing our job there. And
Well, Mayor Allison,
Go ahead, Councilmember Sherman.
the information is in the packet. The letter from the Planning and Public Works Department is in the packet. You can see the reasoning right there. This is not what we're discussing right now.
you're right, but then when I asked the reason, they couldn't give me it's not parking according to the other guy.
Well, that's not all the reasons that are listed in the letter. I mean,
Okay,
Very fun.
I'm not gonna talk, I don't, you
Yeah.
guys do.
I
It
think,
doesn't matter.
I think it's time to move on.
Yeah.
All those, can we do?
Yeah.
Make a motion on discussion item. Okay, all those in favor of notifying the state that the planners' comments are official comments from the city? Say aye, or let's do a roll call on it. Cause we got 6 online.
Okay, did everybody hear that?
Mhm.
That the official, the
Yes.
mayor will tell DNR that the official comments of the city are the ones submitted by staff. So it's yes or no. Tom Baylor,
yeah,
Kristen Carpenter,
Yes,
Wendy Rainey,
Yes.
Ken Jones,
No.
Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Dave Zastro,
Yes.
Casey Kinsman.
Yes, but I'm also confused on this process because if I don't agree with the city council's opinion, not that I'm saying agreeing with the meeting, but if I don't say, or city staff, excuse me, comment on this, then where is the time for council to comment on that?
Oh, that time would have been before the deadline closed.
Okay, sounds great. So, yeah.
So did you say yes or no?
Yes, I said yes.
Kristen's hands up.
Motion carries 6-1.
yeah.
Yeah,
I-
Kristen,
I was just gonna say that, we should put this topic on pending agenda maybe and figure
well,
out,
that's the next item, pending agenda.
right,
We're
right,
already
exactly.
moved on the other one, let's go to pending agenda.
Right.
Anybody have anything for the pending agenda?
Well, I'll second Councilmember Smith's addition, bringing this to council to discuss.
Okay, we need a big explanation of this. I don't know what you guys want to talk about. A closed item.
I'd like to see, the roles of council and mayor outlined in the future. So that we don't run into this again. The topic at hand, the comment point for that is over. We had our opportunity for that, I suggest we move forward, but we set some goals and limitations and boundaries. And understand better how the mayor represents council and what our roles are moving forward.
Those are all in code and charter.
Let's talk about it.
It's all there. If you wanna change the code, change the code. What do you have, Susan, for next meeting? We've got the budget, we've got.
Correct, there are 2 ordinances and 2 resolutions ready for a public hearing, so we're gonna do it on 12/4 at 6:30. Just to have extra time. And that's all I know of right now. Thanks for getting the budget done today at the work session, that'll make next week's packet a little easier.
And we finished with
The economic development,
fee schedule.
oh, the fee schedule, yes, came before you at the work session last time.
Yeah, and when we left that meeting, everybody was happy.
Did we vote on it though? I mean.
No, no vote, it'll be the fee
It'll be
schedule
part-
and the budget,
okay,
are 2
that's-
resolutions.
That's just what I was.
Oh, I'm sorry,
It'll
and
still be part of it.
correct, and the fee resolution, any resolution setting fees and rates requires a public hearing also, so that's why that will be on a public hearing also.
So all that will be voted on at the December 4th meeting.
Correct.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, I just am coming back to this issue of, access on the ski hill, and I understand that the comment period has closed. There were some ideas talked about tonight as potential solutions. It doesn't mean that the applicant can, I would guess that the applicant could apply again in the future. And so I just think if if people want to talk about this more, we should create a venue or agree on a process by which this could be discussed and ideas could be put forward. And, maybe an application in a reapplication in the future doesn't look exactly like what was just submitted this time, but perhaps there's a way to come up with some workable solutions. So, which I think is what some of the other council members are interested in. So I just wanted to figure out how do we do that? Do we ask staff to,
I would
Look at
think that
it
the
again. Do
applicant
council
would get
members
in
wanna-
touch with city staff and discuss their
Right.
comments and maybe reapply
right,
in a way that, you know, maybe the city staff could help him
Yeah.
reapply,
Right.
Work with the.
work with him.
Sure.
Right.
And see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody should be involved, and
I don't
it
think
starts
council
with.
needs to be involved.
Well, the first thing that I think should happen is the project developer, whoever that is, comes in and has a sit down with the planner and talk about your issues. One way or the other, try to work something out. And then if you have to involve, yeah, I think you should involve the ski club because they're managing that up there. And I think the council needs to ultimately be involved if we're going to oppose any application. So that's just my opinion. I don't get a vote on it, so I think we're done with that topic for now. We'll put it on the agenda.
My main point, Mr. Mayor, if I could, is just that the applicant can reapply. This doesn't mean this issue is dead and over. So there are other opportunities
Just
and
because we made comments doesn't mean the state's gonna deny it or accept it either.
That's true also. We don't know.
So
what the state's gonna
we're
do.
only in the middle of this process.
right. I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on pending agenda? We got a big meeting next time. Although it may or may not take long.
Talked about all of them a lot.
Yeah,
We-
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilman Jones.
Yeah, on the when they bring the fee schedule up, I would like to see us revise the new fee that's gonna be implemented on the drive down float. I would like to see that pulled from the fee schedule and sent back to the Harbor Commission for revising.
I think any of those fees can be modified at any time, yeah? Am I wrong about that?
Oh, sure. Yes, they can. It's not an easy
But yeah,
process.
sure.
It would be nice to get done before the whole thing is.
You could, the fee schedule could be amended on the 4th.
Yes, it can.
Yeah, certainly you can amend something on the 4th as well.
Okay.
From any,
Well, I plan to amend it on the 4th and hopefully I'll get a second.
sounds good. Anything else? Audience participation, anything, whether on the agenda or not? Ready?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Knuckles. I'm here representing Cordova Family Resource Center. 1215 Lake Avenue is the current address for the Resource Center. I wanted to just make statements of being appreciative of the council and the budget and the staff and the process that you all go into. The Family Resource Center is a nonprofit and we do receive some funds from the city in the budget in the amount of $20,000. And I kind of have been listening to council have discussions, and I really wanted to take an opportunity to maybe provide some information, enlighten, because I think as you make decisions, it's important for you to have adequate information so that you can make decisions. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about, for one, to be clear and very transparent. The Cordova Family Resource Center does not have ownership of the building that we currently are in at the moment. We are working on a funding package as a nonprofit. If we were to purchase the building on a loan, then we would not be able to receive grant funds to do that. So we'd be holding a loan for over 30 years. So we have worked with the state coalition to hold that loan while we're working with Murkowski, Rasmussen, Denali Commission, Alaska Mental Health Trust authorities to secure those funds. Another statement I just wanted to say is that currently we have 3 primary funding streams that provide the majority of our direct services. The Council on Domestic Violence Prevention Grant and a Victim Service Grant. Sorry.
I think somebody just didn't have on mute when they thought they were.
And a behavioral health grant, and those total funds right now come to $456,238. And I bring that up to you because for the last few years, many programs across the state with COVID, we've been allowed to not provide the match required for state and federal grants, which is 15%. We've been informed that starting July, they're going to be requiring that, and it will be now at 20%. And that is in-kind match, but that is also cash match. And so the city's $20,000 comes in greatly into that. The match for just that 456 would be $91,247.60. And I know that we've heard council members talk about volunteers. And I can tell you that many of our volunteers wear multiple hats in the community. Many of us do. And it is hard to get volunteers to take a crisis line, to show up at a start call, to do those things. Some of our matches that we've had was because of rent, because we were able to pay lower rent, so we were able to have those matches. So the cash money coming in is very important for Cordova Family Resource Center. I think a few things I wanted to talk about, because we don't charge for our fees and services, there are a few prevention things that we're required to charge for the prevention activities because they're international programs, but we usually apply for many grants for scholarships. But if we weren't there, law enforcement, we manage a 24-hour hotline, we take text line calls, we respond to START exams, we help law enforcement when we have individuals that have questions about process or court. Law enforcement, the city, you're gonna see more of that. We help individuals with the public assistance, Medicaid, food stamps, weatherization, heating assistance. Money goes into the city or to the hospital. That money goes back to Alonka. That money goes to AC and Nichols for groceries, for food stamps. That money goes to Shoreside. That money goes to electric company for all those things. So there's a lot of ways that $20,000 is seeing a return over and over and over again from the resource center. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to provide some of that information to show you that we really do appreciate that money. Thank you for considering and keeping that in the budget. And my door is always open. Please come and ask questions anytime at the office. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Nicole. Anybody else comments on anything? Doesn't have to be an agenda item. Okay, council comments then, Councilmember Smith.
Oh, gosh, catching me flat-footed. I guess I want to thank the staff for all the work they put into helping us get to a balanced budget. And what else? Thanks to Dave Reggiani for coming in and giving us that great overview of the ski hill. That's definitely something that's near and dear to my heart. And I know it's a facility that everybody, all of us, probably have taken advantage of at one time or another. And yeah, I guess in general, I just appreciate that we as a council are able to have frank discussions and work together. And I know this is a tough meeting, and I just want to say thank you for everybody's time. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Zastro.
Yeah, I also want to thank staff for providing us a balanced budget. All the work that they've done has been fantastic. Also, a call out to Dave Reggiani. Really appreciated all the information and kind of history about the ski hill. It's an incredible resource. That, along with our pool, is an incredible resource, especially in the wintertime. I mean, I don't know that we would get along without those two resources that we can take advantage of to get through the dark winters. Also too, I do appreciate having these hard conversations and the respectful way that we do it within council. And I just appreciate everybody on this call. Thank you.
Councilmember Kinsman.
Thank you. As I believe it was the manager who brought it out, and called it out, I should say. It was a big shout out to the hospital. Thank you. Thank you for the current administration and getting us to where we're at and being able to ask for a lower amount of money. Obviously was greatly appreciated this go around. With that, I'll just say thank you to staff for working on the budget. I know it's tireless. Thank you. And thank you to Councilmember Smith and your candor and professionalism, as well as really calling out Councilmember Baylor as well. Thanks for your comments, and on this one, your insight and expertise on some of these topics. So I appreciate the candor and the conversations we're able to have.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Sherman.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Tough acts to follow there. I will echo all the comments before me. And I do appreciate, and I know how hard it is to get a balanced budget. So I appreciate the hard work that staff put in. And I do recognize the cutting that the city has taken in this. I don't think he's still there in the audience, but I appreciated Mr. Reggiani's presentation. And I just saw Dave Branshaw's mama, and I'm supposed to give him a hug next week. And I just admire Dave Branshaw for all the work he's done at this ski hill tirelessly. And I think the Christmas miracle story was a good point that probably not many of us knew. So just happy to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, Councilmember Baylor.
Yeah, I guess I'd echo the comments on staff. It's did a good job, and the discussion with council. You know, we have these discussions. We can agree, we can disagree, but I always say when I walk out that door, it stays in the room. When I hang up the phone, it stays in the room. You got to get along to go along sometimes. But let me just throw this out there. I still think that staff dropped the ball on bringing that into the meeting without any background information. They knew what they were going to say, and it should have been in that. We would have picked up on it. And to some of my friends on council, let's say and some of you are saying, well, they can't bring everything to us. I know that they can't bring everything, but some of the hot button issues, some of the development issues, that's an easy call to bring through it. And let's say we got a letter tomorrow that they want Cordova Electric wants a endorsement to build Crater Lake, and a developer comes in the same day and says, I want to go drain Odiak Pond and I'm going to fill that in. You know what you're saying, and it's true. Staff has every right to respond to that and say, yeah, go for it. Is that what we want, though? I don't think that's what we want. I think we want to have that discussion. Maybe we've got some points we can bring up that staff hasn't thought about. Maybe there's some workarounds. So those are the kind of things to keep in mind. I don't think staff did this maliciously. I think it was just, it happened. And I think we need to maybe have that discussion. I don't want to change any policies, but maybe have that discussion and say, look, it's always better to bring things to us. Let us comment on it. And we'll move forward. So with that, again, appreciate everybody being here and look forward to the next meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainey.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Reggiani for his information, and Nicole. I think anytime the city provides funds to a nonprofit or we give funds to an organization in town, it's nice to have them come forward with some information and let us know what's going on and educate us on what they do. In talking to CFRC, I personally haven't had to use them, but I had no idea that they did all that they do. And so that was a very interesting thing to bring together. I'd like to thank the mayor for sitting at the table with me, because it's extremely difficult to have a meeting when you cannot see your other council members. So I appreciate the mayor being at the table with me tonight. and the conversations, and thank you for a balanced budget. Congratulations, Bob. Look forward to seeing you up there, and thank you to the audience members who came this evening.
Hey, I just have a couple comments. I just wanted to throw out there that, we could additionally help the ski club by making their water bill in kind. Just throwing that out there. And again, I'll reiterate that the in kind that we are providing to the school should be recognized by the school as an in kind. That means to fund to the max, we would, you know, it takes away from their cash to do that if we're funding to the max. But, and we've been doing it for a long time. We've been funding over the max. Actually, every year we funded to the max. The way we're doing it now, is, you know, we've been giving them free sewer, water and garbage, and they haven't been reporting that as part of their budget. So, I think when we do the school budget, we should consider that this year. So, appreciate the work, you guys did on the budget. I'm still concerned a little bit with the revenue projections, but I think as long as we can get timely reports and staff keeps their eye on it, I'm sure, talked to Sam before, she's got the same concerns that I do. And we'll keep a close eye on that, because we don't want to end up in November, September, October, and find ourselves out of money in the general fund again. So anyway, that said, I don't see an executive session, correct?
No.
Okay. Meeting's over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to all you guys for getting online. I know
Thank
that's
you.
not easy.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
All right, good night.
Wow, did they feel like it was church? I mean, they're so dedicated.